Today's podcast is brought to you by Dell Expert Network. If you are a Dell Expert Network member, you can qualify to get double rewards through July 31st, 2022 on all servers that include a Microsoft Standard or Data Center operating system and 5+ client access licenses if your order includes Microsoft Standard or Data Center operating system and 5+ CALs. You can learn more or join the Dell Expert Network at www.dell.com/DEN contest.
You're entering the MSP Zone, a podcast for the managed services community, covering news, analysis, and interviews from around the globe. Elevate your MSP game by staying in the MSP Zone. And now, your host, Charles Weaver.
Today is going to be an exciting conversation. I've been looking forward to this one for a while because it's a discussion on the minds of a lot of MSPs that I talk to, and we don't really talk about it a lot. And I know why we don't talk about it, because it can be political, it can be sensitive to discuss in an open forum such as this. But it's an important topic such that we do have to talk about it in an open forum, and we have to talk about it with candor. Because it's so critical to what MSPs do and how they communicate with their customers, and also their very important relationships with their technology partners, the software and the hardware vendors. And I'm talking about licensing. I'm talking about the issue of how MSPs take technology, assimilate it, accumulate it, package it up, bundle it into something that's very unique to that service provider, and then they sell it downstream to their customers on a one-to-many basis. That's the managed services model. And what makes that difficult is the contractual relationship between the MSP and the customer doesn't always sync up with the contractual relationship that the MSP has with the vendor. And that's the issue. And it creates confusion. It creates problem and friction. And my question for the day is, does it have to be like that? Is there a better model? Is there a better solution? And if so, what do we need to do to get there? What do we need to resolve those issues? What are the steps needed to take place? And so here to help unpack and make the quite complex, much more easy to understand is our special guest today. A member, been with us for, I think, a fair amount of time. I could be wrong, but Jean Prejean, president of Guardian Computer. Jean, welcome to the MSP Zone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Charles. I really appreciate you having us on the show and addressing this issue. I think MSPs across the board are feeling the pain and looking to come up with some good solutions that work both for our vendors and for us. Absolutely.
So a couple of things just to note. So, Jean, you're not like, you weren't voted to represent a lot of MSPs in appearing here, but yet your opinion, in my opinion, is representative of a lot of MSPs out there. Do you feel that's true, or?
Exactly. Yes, I'm not speaking for the MSP community. Just from our perspective, and the things that we've noticed in the past few years with licensing and the challenges that it presents.
Yeah. Well, okay. So just to set the table, Guardian Computer, what do you guys do? Just a brief background.
Yeah, we're an MSP. We've been in business for 26 years. Kind of evolve with the IT industry from a break fix to a managed service model, and as we all know, software as a service has now become part of that model. No longer just selling out of the box, Microsoft, Adobe, and other products. So as this kind of a newer type model, we're all experiencing the growing pains.
Yeah. Well, so maybe that's the first starting point for our discussion is everything seemed to change And I'm going to kind of pick on Microsoft only because they're so unique in that they're so ubiquitous. They're everywhere. And for the MSP, I mean, there are a few examples that are the exceptions to this rule, but Microsoft is really everywhere. They're very important to the managed services ecosystem. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. I mean, our business wouldn't be what it is without Microsoft. We're a Microsoft shop. We handle their stack. That's what we sell to our clients across the board. OS applications. We migrate people from Google to O365 all the time. So we can't do it without them.
Okay. So this is not some, hey, the vendor's bad, the MSP is good discussion, but this is an honest, open discussion about the state of things today. Could you maybe set the tone for the conversation of what you see as whether it's the NCE, this new commerce experience which has come out? Is that the issue and the changes that it represents, or is this something that predates NCE and just was made worse by it?
Yeah, I certainly think it has evolved. I mean, there was a growing pain or a step for us as MSPs to change from selling our clients out of the box software. They kind of got used to that. They paid for it once, so then we had to go to the client and say, look, the model's changed. It's month to month now. It's a subscription thing. Kind of got through that. And the NCE program has just created a new challenge for us. And I think it's brand new. And I think it's, with a couple of tweaks, I think it can work for both Microsoft, who I'm sure would appreciate the commitment on the client, an annual commitment, and work for the managed service providers too.
Okay, perfect. So for anyone who's not familiar, maybe you're not deep like Gene is into the Microsoft ecosystem. The NCE is, and Gene, correct me if I'm wrong. NCE is, among other things, it is some changes to the buying experience that essentially wants to get a commitment of at least a year from a consumer of, let's say, Microsoft 365 licensing, so that they will push them away from month to month, which is less predictable, we all know, and go towards an annual or multi-annual commitment. Did I relay that correctly?
Right. I mean, Microsoft NCE, it stands for New Commerce Experience, and I think it brings a lot of benefits to our client. They still can go month to month, but now there's would be a 20% upcharge on that, so we know our clients are going to stay with Microsoft for years on end. So I don't think they're necessarily afraid of the annual commitment. It's just a couple of, Microsoft has, it would be nice if they could help us bring the story to our clients and help simplify that explanation that we need to give our clients.
Okay, so I think we can all understand the motive behind wanting to move away from monthly to annual or longer. And by the way, you've been around for 26 years. The Guardian Computer, you probably have seen this, where we've gone through these trends of moving away from monthly years ago. Multi-year was where it was at for MSPs. And then like maybe post 2009, I want to say, we started going back to, hey, monthly's in. Like it became in fashion again, and now we're going away from it. Did you notice that? Is that something you saw?
Yeah, certainly. The ebb and flow, and even for an MSP, a small MSP like us, we like to offer our clients with our services a 90-day out. If they don't like us, if we're not a good fit, we want them to be able to move on. Thankfully, that doesn't happen. But part of that is to say, hey, you do have this annual commitment with your Microsoft licenses. we're happy to let you pack that up and take that with you if you decide to leave. And we just make a nice clean break. But the NCE program presents some challenges to being able to sell that to the client as an option. Make a clean break and you find a new provider.
Okay, so let's role play here. You're my MSP. I'm the customer, and there's Microsoft. I say, Gene, I don't want to run Microsoft 365. I don't want to manage it. I don't have the time to do it. I want Guardian to do it. You say, great, Charles, unless you want to pay month to month, which is going to cost you a 20% premium on the list price, we really encourage you to go annual. I say, fine, I accept that. Let's go annual. I sign up, and am I committing to you, or am I signing directly through Microsoft, or how does that work?
Well, you're giving me a verbal, or I can send you a letter that says you're committed annually, and you would be committed to me. The agreement that an MSP or Guardian Computer has with our provider, D&H, with the reseller, is we're the guys on the hook for the annual, so that if you pack up and leave, you are not contractually obligated as a client to finish your year. There's no, you're not obligated there. So it's.
But I am for the license to Microsoft, just not to the provider.
No, you're not. I mean, if you buy it through me, you have not signed anything or told Microsoft that you would commit to annual. You're telling me you'll commit to annual. Now, I have to pay D&H for that license. And if you pack up and leave, you can pack up and leave and go sign up with a new MSP and start all over again and just leave me hanging with your annual commitment, which has no teeth.
That doesn't sound very good for you.
No. And it just seems like a simple, if you as the client would be committed annually and you decide to leave me or come to me, you just pack up your licenses and bring them to your next MSP. You own it. You own the year commitment, and now you go to a different provider if you choose.
Okay, so we've added the additional layer of the distributor, which is not. It's not uncommon. I mean, there's a lot of this going. I suppose there are some cases where the MSP is not dealing with a distributor. Is it?
Well, that's certainly an option for us, and we're considering doing that. If we go through a distributor, we take on the support for our clients of Microsoft. We take that that work away from Microsoft. Now our client comes directly to us for support. If they buy their licenses from Microsoft directly, then their support is through Microsoft. So they're paying Microsoft for the support, so they're not going to want to double pay us for the support.
Right.
But we may just turn around and tell our clients, look, if you buy it directly from Microsoft, then it's yours. You have the annual commitment, and you can take it wherever you want.
So that's the option for I don't. Well, so that I could pay month to month to Microsoft. I'm still going to pay a 20% premium to them or to you, correct?
Correct. Or you can go to them and do the annual commitment. But that's really kind of it's not a win-win because I'm not able to package that service and sell it to you. And now Microsoft has this added, they have to support the client 7x24 for all the Microsoft products. So I think Microsoft, and we have a symbiotic relationship there. If we can sell it and support it,
that's
that
preferable.
Seems like, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I get the I get the monthly to annual transition. I get it. I mean, MSPs have long favored that, with some exceptions, but I get that motive, and I get why Microsoft is trying this. But the issue then comes in with moving or reallocating. And can you talk to us about, I think it's in NCE, which is it true in your opinion of NCE that as a provider, even if the customer says, hey, look, I don't want Microsoft anymore, or maybe that's a bad example, but I'm signing up with you at Guardian, and then I decide I want to leave and I want to maybe manage it all myself for whatever reason, that puts you in a bind because you can't reuse those licenses. Are you committed
Exactly.
to Microsoft in some way under NCE?
Exactly. Yeah. So we can't take company A's licenses and reallocate them to our client B, which would really help us because we have enough clients that have it that if one decided to manage it themselves, or maybe they just want to, maybe they're downsizing and they want to decrease the number of licenses. If we could take that and allocate it to another client, Microsoft would still have that 1 year income for those licenses. And we could help our clients by giving them a way to, basically return if we could reallocate it to another client, for sure.
You just want the flexibility to take a license, staying true to the commitment you made to that vendor, in this case, Microsoft. So Microsoft's still whole. They're still getting whatever let's use pandemic, right? So there's a lot of MSPs who, if they had customers in hospitality or restaurants, there was a lot of, a lot of pain in those early months of, and all throughout 2020. That's a great example, is it not, of this type of flexibility being really critical for the MSP and the customer?
Exactly. And see, a perfect example with COVID, because we had, like you said, the hospitality industry took a hit. But on the other hand, we have wind down companies that help distressed companies, and they were growing like crazy. So if NCE if we could have moved those licenses from these industries that took, this downturn, unpredictable downturn, reallocated them, it would look at the value that we would provide the hospitality industry, because they were hurting bad, and we could do that easily.
Do you? Because if you're like any other MSP, you have multiple multiple relationships with other vendors, in ISVs who make software technology that Guardian uses to deliver its services. Is this common, in your opinion, of your relationship with other, like this lock-in and this inflexibility to adjust license count?
Other vendors have given us more flexibility. They still enjoy that or want that annual commitment. Some of them do lock in with the client directly, that commitment, and then we just kind of manage it. That's nice. Some of them allow us to shuffle them from client to client. I think those vendors aren't as it's not such a pain point for us, because the licenses that doesn't impact our client's budget or our budget like Microsoft does. When you're talking about 100 E3 licenses, that's certainly a substantial spend.
Yeah, and I would say that it's different for an end user organization to own a license commitment to something like 365, which is a productivity collaboration tool that they'll need, versus I don't want to own a license for an RMM or a ticketing or backup.
Exactly. And that's another perfect example, is the backups. Acronis or Datto or whoever, they, we're managing that however we need from client to client, and they're not really concerned about who or what where we use those resources.
So would you say that the MSP platform community, I just want to make sure I got that right, has more awareness of what kind of your pressures as an MSP are, and so they are more flexible with you compared to a Microsoft? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
yes, it has been at times easier, but I really do think it's some growing pains with Microsoft. I really hope that the Microsoft can hear what the MSPs are saying, and take that and just make a few little tweaks to the program so that it becomes a real win-win for us.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot, Jean. What changes? What I want, like your kind of top list of things that you would like to see from a Microsoft or other vendors that would just really make the relationship better. You already talked about kind of licensing. What are we going to call it? No lock-in. I don't know how to describe it, but
yeah,
flexibility.
So just to go kind of through the punch list and kind of get into the weeds with this, one is if an MSP could shuffle those licenses from client to client as the ebb and flow for those clients happen, and the other is to allow us to transfer the control of NCE licenses to a different MSP if a client moves from MSP to MSP. Right now, like we have a client that's coming over to us, but they have to continue to deal with their old MSP for a year because their NCE license is through that MSP. So all the management still has to go through
crazy.
That MSP.
Not only is it crazy, it could be, I mean, I don't want to, it could be risky. I mean, what if that MSP was underperforming or wasn't, they're winding down their business? I mean, that would be a really bad thing to encourage that type of behavior.
Right. So if an MSP has gone out of business or getting bought out, and it also then, I mean, we have a lot of healthcare. We're under a BAA, and so to leave, how does a client maintain that BAA relationship with an MSP that they've decided to part ways with?
Yeah, that's okay. So the flexibility issue for you is really critical for not just the ease of use and to maintain commitment to Microsoft, but also making sure that the end user customer is safe and secure and not making bad decisions because they have to maintain a commitment.
Yes, absolutely. Security. That's the name of the game, and not allowing those licenses to transfer from being managed by one MSP to another is a real pain point for us. And another pain point is we can't take our business from one distributor to another. So if D&H isn't, I don't want to pick on D&H. They provided great service to us. We're not planning on moving. But if for some reason we had decided to take it from D&H to Ingram, we don't have that option until those 1-year commitments are done. And then it would have to be a trickle down or staggered, because maybe client A had their licenses in March and another one in June and another one in July. As those 1-year deadlines came up, we would then have to migrate them to a new distributor.
License portability, if I could coin that phrase, is really critical in everything I'm hearing you talk about.
That is just the perfect term, because it's portability in 3 different ways, and that's it. You've just summed it up in 2 words.
And if these things came to pass, you believe that it would be advantageous not just to the customer who is, I'm assuming under your example, the customer coming over to you has to either, I'm assuming they could just pay you and buy new licenses, but then they're paying double effectively.
Yes.
Which no one's going to want to do. I mean, of any size, no one's going to want to do that. Or they're going to have to maintain a relationship with an undesirable relationship with an old provider just to see the license term through to the end.
Exactly. So now they have to, maybe they had a bad experience with the MSP. They still have to call that MSP to set them up new clients and it, yeah. So license portability, both for us between our own clients, between distributors, and between the MSPs, MSP to MSP. Three different, and then the whole experience would, I think we would be so ecstatic for those few changes.
And to be clear, just in case anyone was just saying, "Oh, well, she's asking for something unusual," you're not avoiding the commitment, the MSP commitment to the ISV the software vendor, right? I use ISV, but you're fully saying we'll be committed as an MSP. Just allow us to move those things around so that we can maintain that commitment and maintain security and serve the customer base.
Absolutely. Just give the customer the best experience that we can, that we have the capacity to do, except for our hands seem to be tied. So all of our software as a service vendors, we would love for them all to take a lesson from this and help us by making things more portable. And then we can work with them on that annual commitment. We're big enough. We can promise them that they get their annual commitments.
Right. Which should be satisfying to them, right? I mean, ultimately I'm assuming they only care about the, financial, like you committed to X number of licenses. They want revenue for X number of licenses to come in. Who those licenses are going to, as long as the count is reconciled and is accurate at the end of the year, they shouldn't care, right?
Yes, they they can work their books. They know what their income, what is it, predictable income. So yeah.
Final question, Jean. Is anyone doing this right? Is there an example that you can think of a vendor that gets it and is really farther along in this licensing portability feature?
I would have to give kudos to Acronis. They've been really easy to, just helpful and easy to work with, and their licensing and billing has been transparent and allows MSPs some real flexibility. And also, they are guaranteed their income. So I think it's a win for them too.
Interesting. I mean, Acronis has been around for a while. They certainly are very familiar with the MSP community. So that's good to know that at least someone's doing it.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's the challenge. More MSP licensing portability. If you do it, I think companies like Guardian Computer will respond. I personally agree. I think the security, if we could call it the unintended security and business issue of provider lock-in is going to be ultimately an issue, and I think we're going to have to keep an eye on that, Jean, because I'm curious in your situation. Maybe you could come on in the future and talk to us if you have updates on like how that whole relationship with the old provider transitioning over to you guys, how that happened and how the license impacted all of it.
I would love to come back on and talk about it. I have a feeling that, we're going to work with Microsoft. Like I said, they're our bread and butter. And I'm sure we can come to, and other vendors. It's just some growing pains. Yeah.
Yeah, completely reasonable, right? I mean, yeah, I get it. You'll still commit, the commitment is not the issue. It's the portability. It's the flexibility to be able to meet a diverse group of customers that you represent. And that's like every MSP on the planet, quite frankly, that I know of.
Yes. And security and customer service. That's what we're about.
Absolutely. Well, Jean, thank you very much for coming on the program. I really appreciate your candor and talking about this kind of, sensitive issue. Not a lot of, folks understand it or like to talk about it, but very much appreciate you giving us your perspective.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely, folks. If you have a comment about this, we would love to hear from you and love to have you, weigh in on this discussion. And if you are, if you're Microsoft or if you're anyone else out there who has a perspective from the software vendor standpoint, we would love to talk to you, because this is a thing that, it's an ecosystem. It's a symbiotic one, and we all have to fix this to be profitable and to make it work across and down the supply chain. So very much appreciate it. And that's all. Until next time.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please give us a like. Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast so you will get notified when future episodes are released. We will see you next time in the MSP Zone.